What is up, guys? Delboy here. I'm looking at introducing a new series to my channel, essentially talking about who certain fighters should fight next. I'm going to try and keep this to fighters who don't get that much kind of media attention or fan attention, you know. Guys that not too many people talk about, because anybody can say, well, anybody can make a video and say who should Manny Pacquiao fight next, or who should Canelo Alvarez fight next. We all know the answers to that. So yeah, just trying something a little different. And let's start with recently crowned Wbc Cruiserweight champion Mairis Briedis, who recently beat Marco Huck to win the vacant Wbc Cruiserweight title. He won that fight extremely clearly. I scored it 11 rounds to 1 for Mairis Briedis. And I felt it was a really, really good performance. I heard some people criticise it, saying it was a boring fight, and he didn't look that great. I thought Briedis looked really comfortable. I felt he looked really composed. He boxed well. There were signs of real quality there as far as I was concerned, and I was impressed for the most part. There was a little bit too much holding, but a lot of that was initiated by Marco Huck. If you've seen Huck fight throughout his career, you know, he does like to hold, and he likes to land rabbit punches, which was something actually Briedis neutralised quite well. Huck always sort of throws rabbit punches in the clinch, and Briedis sort of neutralised that very well by pushing him back and tying him up well. So yeah, Briedis, to me, is a guy who I'm excited about, and let's discuss who he should fight next. And let's look at certain options. Firstly, let's start with the big one, Alexander Usyk. He's come out and said in the last couple of weeks that he would like to stay at cruiserweight to unify the belts before moving up to heavyweight, and that's a fight I would love to see. Is between Alexander Usyk and Mairis Briedis. I think it's a tremendous fight. Two pretty good technicians, and a lot of people, ever since Usyk's turned pro, and I've been a big Usyk fan since he's turned pro, and before that, I was a really big fan of him in the London Games. I felt he was really, really good to watch. But since he's turned pro, a lot of people go on about Usyk like he's unbeatable. And I think we saw at the weekend, he's not unbeatable at all. And I heard a lot of people say Usyk will just walk through guys like Murat Gassiev or Mairis Briedis before that Hunter fight, and now they've kind of changed their tune. That's the thing with boxing fans, you know, it's either one extreme or the other. You know, you just got to sit back sometimes and just take it for what it is. It was a hard fight against an unbeaten guy. But Usyk versus Briedis is a really good fight between two technicians. Usyk hasn't got the best defense. He does get hit. And, you know, Briedis is a decent puncher with sneaky he's got a sneaky right hand that he sneaks in over the top. He's got a very good uppercut on the inside that he can just sort of throw really quickly. Usyk does like to sort of get up close occasionally. And in the exchanges, I could see Briedis doing some work against Usyk. Obviously, if that fight got made, I would pick Usyk, but I wouldn't be like super confident, and I wouldn't be shocked if Briedis won it, because I think Briedis is a really skillful fighter. So that's the first fight we'd love to see, is Briedis versus Usyk. And obviously in boxing, when there's two undefeated fighters with world titles, sometimes it's hard to make the fights, but at cruiserweight there's no real reason not to make these fights, because none of these fighters are in they're not in promotional companies that have beef with each other. And, you know, at cruiserweight, you know, there's room to make all of these fights. So yeah, Usyk is the first one I'd like to see. There's no reason why it can't happen. I'd love to see that one. Both guys have recently fought. Both guys have not got a fight scheduled. So that's a great fight. Another fight I'd love to see is Briedis versus another one of the champions, Murat Gassiev. Gassiev is coming off an impressive victory against Denis Lebedev. He won that fight by unanimous decision. Murat Gassiev is a big cruiserweight. I think he's like 6'3", 6'4". He's a big cruiserweight, you know, and he's got really good power, very good body puncher, decent jab, decent punch technique. He is still raw, but he's definitely a very dangerous guy. And that's a really tough fight for Briedis. I mean, if he fights like he did against Duradola, then, you know, Gassiev's got a good chance. But if he fights like he did against Hook, with a bit more composure, with a bit more defense, you know, Briedis has a good chance there. So yeah, Gassiev in a unification fight, again, great fight. And obviously Lebedev is there for a unification fight as well. Nobody would complain about that. Outside of the champions, you know, you've got the ex-WBO champion Krzysztof Glowacki. Excellent fight. It will show us more about Briedis and where he's at, how much he's got compared to the other cruiserweights. Glowacki obviously only lost to Usyk. Before that, he beat Steve Cunningham and he beat Marco Huck. So, you know, Glowacki is a proven cruiserweight, good power, tricky southpaw, reasonably big guy for the division. You know, in terms of like he's kind of a stocky guy. He's quite a big guy. So that's a great fight. Other than that, you know, you've got guys like Unie Dorchikos, who's fighting Beibut Shumenov. Maybe the winner of Dorchikos versus Shumenov. That's a good fight. And obviously, if none of those fight happens, he's going to have to fight the winner of a fight between Dmitry Kudryashov and Ola Duradola. So potentially he could fight Duradola again because that's a WBC eliminator. So in a way, I'd rather Kudryashov win that fight because it's something different. Kudryashov is a brutal puncher, but he's got limited skills. So when you look at the cruiserweight division, there's multiple options out there for Mairis Briedis. Even somebody like Maxim Vlasov, who is sort of recently moved up to cruiserweight from light heavyweight, even that would be a good defense because Vlasov is coming off a couple of decent victories over the likes of Rakhim Shakayev and Ismail Shalak. So he's coming off a couple of good wins at cruiserweight. He's highly ranked. So that's another decent first defense for Mairis Briedis. Briedis has got a lot of fights there to be made. He's a skillful guy and a guy who I'm really looking forward to seeing in the future. As I said, as we know on this channel, I'm a big cruiserweight fan. I think the division's really good if the fights are made. And yeah, tell me what you guys think of Mairis Briedis and who do you think he should fight next? Peace.